If you love all things journaling and art, then you are in the right place. I'm Ingrid Carlsen, and I'm so happy that you're here with me today. We are building this little tab book, and it's a project that you can make in under an hour. So if you want to find out how, stay tuned. If you're not already subscribed, I would love for you to consider doing so and joining our Caratootie family. Also, if you like the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Anytime that you react with this video, send it to others, like it or comment. It helps the algorithm and it helps me leaps and bounds. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Not only is this project super cute and easy to make, but all you need is a few things. So I'm going to start off by printing some of the ephemera from my Strawberry Fields kit #1, which is on sale right now. So if you want to get it, it's 40% off. And these are 2 pages from the ephemera kit. And then I've just double printed on the back of it. Now, don't worry if your printer doesn't have the capability to do double-sided printing. I'm going to link my video of how to get around this linked down below. And I just wanted to take a minute and say that if you're ever looking for anything, any products that I use, any other videos that I mention, they're linked down in the video below. So just the easiest way for me to explain this is if you are on your computer or phone, if you're looking at the video, right underneath the video, there are some words, and it's kind of sometimes can be a little confusing. Usually there'll be 3 little dots or it says more. You're going to click right there and then it's going to open up whatever notes possible. And so I try to link everything in the description for you so you don't have to go searching. I mean, you're welcome to do that as well, but I want to cut down on some of that time. Now, if you're on your TV and you're watching using, I don't know about all of the systems because we have Apple TV, so that's what I know how to use. But if you're watching Apple TV right now, and you want to see what's in the description, you're going to scroll up so that it shows you like the video, and then on the right hand side it has some things. You're going to, on the left hand side, you're going to see like a little picture of the video. You're going to click on that and then it's going to open up the description box. So I don't know if you already knew that, but if you don't, now you have that in your arsenal. So now let's get back to our little booklet here. We are going to be able to bind this using some masking tape. This is just Dollar Tree masking tape. I'm actually going to use this today, which is gummed tape. And if you don't know what that is, it's got an adhesive already built into the paper. So one side is flat, the other side is shiny, and that is what you would wet and then it becomes like really adhesive. This is a really fun product to have in your kits at home, because not only is it just kind of fun to use with the liquid aspect of it and without having like a lot of wet glue, but it holds really well. If you can see here, it's got fibers that are going diagonal, and then also fibers that are going horizontally, and so those are all fibers. So, and if you look very closely, which I doubt the camera can pick that up, there's even more fibers going in all directions. So when you try to rip it, well, I just disproved. Okay, so if you rip like that, it rips, but if you go to rip like this, you can see it's catching on this fiber here, and it's not allowing me to rip it. So it's definitely very durable. And if you haven't used this stuff yet, it's a lot of fun. It is linked in my Amazon storefront. So now let's go ahead and get started. You're going to love how easy and fun this is. And if you don't have my kit and you can't get the kit, then you can definitely use anything that you have on hand. And if you can't double print, that's no worries either. You can just print, or you can just glue another piece of paper onto whatever you're using. So that's something that I used to do all the time before I had a printer that did double-sided, and or before I even knew how to do double-sided printing. And it's still really great because you're bulking up your project, and that's nice. But sometimes it could be a little cumbersome because you might get, if you don't have the right glue, you might get some air pockets or bubbles, and just keep that in mind. Look how adorable this is already, just with that on the back side of it. So cute. I can't believe it took me this long to do double-sided printing. And I used to watch people do it all the time, and I just was scared of it. So if you're in the same boat, make sure you check out the video. I think it's hopefully pretty well explained and easy. How cute that is. So for continuity, I'm going to go ahead and round the edges. Now this printable did not come with the edges rounded, and I just wanted to talk to you about that really quick. So rounding edges is actually a really great design element that I like to use a lot, and I just wanted to show you that you can just do it with your scissors. And sometimes if you feel like your edges aren't even, you can see here they're not even, and it's okay. So what I wanted to explain is, depending on the angle that you cut is going to be what corners you get. So this one you can see is definitely more rounded, or a bigger round, than this one that is smaller. So what this one means is that I barely went around and I got a little rounded corner, and that's still a little sharp up there. There you go. And if you could see, barely anything came off of the paper because I'm barely taking anything off. Now on this one, if I want to do the same thing, but I want to go deeper, I'm going to go in, and now I'm going to cut that little corner, and you can see it right here, that little corner cut off. So depending on what look you like, then you can keep going more. And you can see here, that's definitely bigger than that one, and you can go more, which is bigger. So we're gonna go ahead and do this, and I'm not really worried if my edges aren't 100% equal or even. Because I think it looks cute regardless. We're halfway there. So before we keep going, I am going to introduce something else, and that is going to be a Dollar Tree envelope. I love these envelopes. They're one of my favorite things to pick up at Dollar Tree. And I know it's such a simple thing to get, but they add just so much, I don't know, it's just whimsy, I guess. And I love the inside pattern. I've talked about this on Patreon a lot. So I am going to add this into one of my layers. I'm going to be layering the pages, something like this. And then I'm going to add this probably in between these two. But I wanted to, with you, before we construct the journal, I wanted to show you a new product that I just got, and I haven't opened it, so I'm going to try it out with you guys. I found these watercolor paints at Daiso Japan. And if you don't know what Daiso Japan is, it's a dollar store with Japanese stationery, home goods, and some like toiletry stuff, also some food in there. But anyways, if you'd like me to do a video showing you around Daiso, I would love to do so. Leave it down in the comments. It's one of my favorite stores to go to. And if you have access to it and you live in one of the states that has one, I encourage you to go take a peek inside. It can be a little daunting because some of the stuff is not in English, but you will not regret it. So I grabbed these two watercolor palettes. This one came in primary colors, and this one is called Dusty Color. And so you can see the colors that it comes with. This one just says watercolors. So we're gonna open these and try them out today. I'm really excited. I don't have high hopes for them, to be honest with you, but I thought it would be fun to show them to you. And we're going to draw a little strawberry. And for those of you that are going to try to fast forward and say you're not an artist, I want you to stay and I want you to try. I believe that everybody is an artist, and art is definitely learned. So those are cute little palettes. It's definitely very well protected. I've never seen watercolor come like this. Oh, they're so adorable. Okay, and so that's my Dusty colors. And here's my traditional, more primary colors. Did anyone just get anxiety from the way that I opened that package? I like to raccoon it. Okay, well, I'm gonna grab some water as well as something to put down. That way I can be extra sloppy if I want to be. I also grabbed some watercolor paper. This is Canson watercolor paper. It's 140 pound, and it's really nice quality. It's not, you know, fine art, but it is really nice. And if you are looking at starting watercolor, this is a great brand to get. This one in particular with the blue, and I do have it linked as well. I'm going to be using a number 10 round brush, but really any brush will do. And I'm going to show you, actually, I'm going to grab another like flat brush that is more common, and I'm going to show you that we can do this regardless of your brushes. I have both of these. This one you can see it's got paint on it. It's all beat up. It's, I can't even read that. Well, if you can read it. And then this one is just one of those cheap brushes that comes with your like kids watercolors, or like cheaper watercolors. I shouldn't say kids. So I'm going to try these out, different colors, but let's actually start with this. Okay, so they're soft, so I can squeeze out, and I just want a little bit. So I want to see how it's going to react. And I like to use hot water. I don't know, I feel like I get a better result from the hot water, like it opens up the colors. so it's a little patchy. I'm going to try using a little less water. And you can even see on the palette that it is a little streaky, but this one's already starting to dry and it's actually really nice. I don't know if I would necessarily categorize these as watercolors though. Maybe they're more of a gouache. I'm just taking some of the water off and trying a lot more concentrated. And you can see streaking, it's definitely more like a gouache. So I'm gonna add some water and see if I can, yeah, it's definitely reacting more of like a gouache to me. And I'm actually going to test that out by adding a dark color and then, or a darker color I should say, and then trying to add a light on top of it, which is one of gouache's, I think, best properties. I'm also going to try it with this brush. I mean, it's still a great find for $1. I believe their stuff is $1.75. It's definitely streaky, but it feels like once it starts to dry, it settles. I diluted that with more water, but now I want to add a little more paint and keep doing that so that it's a little stronger, but it's still very wet, if that made sense. So you can see the more water I added, it does go more translucent, but it doesn't have the streaks on it. So while we are waiting for that to dry, and we will experiment with painting on top of it, I am going to grab my envelope. Actually, I'm going to grab a different one because I put it, I think I left it underneath. And I'm going to grab a pencil, just a mechanical pencil that I have. And for my strawberries, I want the shape to be kind of rounded at the top. We're gonna actually make it go sideways a little bit. So the top, I'm just going to kind of do a rounded edge like that. Then I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna continue with the rounded edge and come down. And I think we've done strawberries before in the stained glass tutorial. That was a fun project to do. And now I'm just going to kind of add where I want it to be added. I'm going to add a leaf. And if I'm looking Let's see it, one of the printables. I can go with a leaf like this, like a broader leaf. I can go with one that's more like kind of what I would say like a traditional leaf, or I can go with these little leaves on the top. There's all different types of leaves that I can do. So I think for this one, I'm just going to go in and kind of just do triangles. Let's see. I'm going to start off here, and I'm going to go up, like kind of swoop it up, come halfway down, then go back up and meet it. So it almost looks like if you ever drew like snakes, the tongue. On this one, I'm going to go up like that. So I am not drawing what traditionally you would think would be a leaf shape. And I found that most of the tops of the strawberries, they are kind of going all which ways. They're kind of flat and come out. So I'm facing them upward. And I'll go ahead and add a little stem here. And we are going to add I think we're going to add like a broader leaf. Okay, so I'm looking at it as if the leaf was like this. So I can see the top of the edges of the leaf here. And I think it's gonna cut a little bit into my stem. And so I'll just have the stem like that. And here I can add any striations that I want. Like the veining would kind of go like this, right? And then let's add one more kind of coming down. And on this one, let's go ahead and make it a little broader. So we're going to draw kind of a oval kind of shape like this, almost like an egg. And if this was the full leaf, it would go all the way around. But since my strawberry is covering some of it, we'll only go to the edge here. And then I'm gonna start building this like this. So I'm going to come down to the tip, and then I would pretend that this was going the same way. And so now I'm going to try to erase that little line underneath. And the same thing, I'm going to have the center vein as well as the veining going through. And now I'm not going to draw these in because I personally don't do that when I do watercolors, but if you want to. And now I'm going to take my, and you can see I'm using just a cheap, probably Dollar Tree pencil and eraser, and I'm just going to lightly go over my edges so I can still see the pencil marks, but they're not that prominent. That way when I add watercolors, then they're still gonna appear, or they're not gonna show through the watercolors. I'm gonna start off with my leaves here, and I'm gonna grab this color. We're gonna see how it works. It might be a colossal mess, and it might be great. And it's okay. We're learning, we're having fun, and we're just creating something. So I'm going to work with these a lot different than I would work, well, not a lot different, but different than I would work on my watercolors with. And I'm working a little bit quick just because I didn't prep my surface for water. So the longer that I let my brush sit on the water, the more warped it'll be. I'm going to add a little bit of a darker color to blend it out, just a tad bit on the edges. And then let's add some yellow. And I'm just gonna go kind of in the center. I'm going to take that yellow as not to waste it, and I kind of mixed it with the purple here and with the leftover of the greens, and I'm just going to go around the edges really quick. And I'm going to leave those to dry. While I'm doing that, I am going to grab, I think we'll start with this red. It's like an orange red. So that'll be our base. And I'm gonna go ahead and use this brush just to show you that you can use whatever you have on hand. That's a really pretty color. What's a little harder with using a brush like this is going to be the control that you have on your edges. You know, while I'm doing this, I do want to take a moment to say that I do have a Facebook group that I have not been in quite a bit, if I am being 100% honest, because Facebook kind of scares me a little. I'm gonna grab some of that leftover orange and use it for the stem, because orange and purple are across from each other on the color wheel. If you have any blonde in your hair that is not natural, then you know that hairstylists will add purple or blue toner to tone down the brightness of the orange that naturally comes out of our hair. I wouldn't know this, but you know, I've been told. I'm gonna go ahead while it's still wet and add some darker to it. I'm gonna mix it with that orange that's there. It gives me a more cohesiveness. So I'm gonna decide where my light is coming from, and I feel like it's coming this way, and so this is going to be my darker sections down here. And you don't need to get that technical with it, it's just for shadows. Oops, I went a little too far. So what we're gonna do, because my paper is buckling, so it's giving me a little bit of a hard time, but We don't care about that, right? We're here to have fun. We're not going to get stressed out by paper. Look at that. We just fixed it. Almost. I'm going to add a little bit of shadowing. Maybe add just a touch of green. Green is also opposite red on the color wheel. So if I add a little bit of green, like a tiny little nothing, you're going to see that it's going to darken my red up. And I'm going to put it just along the edges. Because these shadows, or these leaves, would be casting a shadow, even if you had light coming in, because they're above there. And I'm just gonna go in and kind of just eyeball it. I'm happy with that. And we're gonna leave it. And even though the color is a little orange, you can see that it's not that far off from the color that we have here. Whether this is because it's vintage and it's, you know, aged and so it's yellowed over time, or if that really is the original watercolor color. Either way, we're gonna leave that. So I still have some of that. I feel like that brush is too big. Let's grab this one. Okay. I'm gonna grab this green. And it's a little bright. So to tone it down, I'm gonna do the same thing that I did before to tone the red down, but this time I'm adding it more to the green. Just gonna go in and add some darker green to that leaf, as well as a little bit to the edges. So we're going to leave this now to dry a little bit. I'm going to move all of this stuff out of the way. And I am going to dry it a little bit using a dryer. Okay, that dried pretty well. Not forget about my seeds. Now, true seeds aren't going to be white. The middle is a little bit lighter than the outside. On some of these, you can see here, the seeds are dark. And actually, let's go ahead and do both of those. So I'm just taking a paint pen. This is, I think, from Daiso as well. I'm just gonna make sure it's still working. The biggest problem with art, there we go, with art supplies is when you don't use them, they will can dry up on you. So I'm just gonna very lightly just add seeds sporadically. I don't want them to all be going exactly the same direction, and I don't want them to be all the same size. I'm going to go ahead and dry in between. this is what I have on hand, this black, I think it's an oil base. It might be water based. It's a Sharpie. Let's see. Yes, it's oil based. I'm going to add the shadows. So if you notice here, let me do this. Right here, there's a shadow that goes over the little like white part. So that's what we're gonna do here, is we're just gonna add that shadow over top. And now to distress, I'm just going to use the back of this because it's an off print. I'm going to take some of this Distress Oxide and brush corduroy, and I'm just going to go around the whole envelope to make it look like it's weathered without it being weathered. And I'm going to leave this here as is. Okay, now we are ready to build. Oops. And look at how this was something that was very easy. It took us not that much time. And now I have a piece that looks like it goes with this without going with it. Without being vintage, without being special. We created that strawberry pretty quickly. You can see line marks. Now, if you wanted to take this to the next level, sometimes I would tell you to take a pen in black and then outline the edges. Because I want this to look more distressed, like more vintage like this, I'm not going to do that today. So now we're going to take this and see where we're going, and we're going to start building it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut out strips of this tape that I want. And they don't have to be even, but I am going to make them somewhat even. I think I just need one more. I'm actually going to go ahead and use the water that I have from my watercolor or gouache project, and I am going to lay something down because this is going to get a little wet and a little gummy. So the most important thing is finding out where you want it to go. I think originally I wanted it here. Maybe we'll go right there. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to wet it down just a little. And I'm going to lay it halfway on this card. Or about halfway. And then I'm going to take this one and lay it on top. I think I wanted it a little further up. Right there. And now I can take another piece, and then I wanted to show you this as well. If you want it to look a little more distressed, you can cut into it and distress the edges. And then when we lay this one down, it's gonna have a little more character. We're going to do the same with the next piece. So we're going to take this whole thing and lay it this way. And now this is going to get hinged together. So I'm going to take this one and we're going to go ahead and distress it just a little bit. So I like the look of that. And if you use some kind of brush, then, not than, I'm giving it a little bit. I kind of didn't want to cover that strawberry. So I'm not going to use that. I'm going to see if I can still use it later. I'm going to leave it to the side. I don't know if it'll activate again once it's dried, but we'll try it. I'm thinking it should, but I'm not 100%. And when you're cutting your strips of tape, whether it's masking tape or other, you're going to keep in mind how thick you want it, depending on how much you want it to cover your paper. And I'm just going to take my nail and kind of just distress the edges a little bit. We're going to do the same thing here and add a thin strip. I just flipped it over to cover this so that it's not wet on the other side. And then our last one, so we're going to flip all of this, and then I want this here. I'm going to there was a little bit of light color there. And let's see if I want this peeking through, so it says postcard, or if I want this. I think this looks better with the edge here. So, and I think right there is pretty good. So I'm going to take this. We're going to see if we can, it's still wet. So we'll see if, oh, and unfortunately I am going to cover where it says postcard. And just like with any adhesive, the more that you burnish it down, the better result you'll get. And we're going to finish it off with adding one more piece to the back. And on this one will show. So I want to distress this one. You can also ink this because it's paper. Go ahead and pull it like that. And you can see the threads underneath. That's very, very vintage. Very much what I like for this. And because this is the last piece, this will be the piece that you can see. And again, I'm going to go through and just distress some of the edges so that they look a little more vintage. And now we have a sweet little flip book, and now we still have this envelope where we can add goodies to, and we can decorate to our heart's content, or your heart's content. You can fill this up with ephemera, you can fill it up on the blank spaces here. We can write notes, and like here I would write notes, and I think this is really sweet. This is a sweet project that you can do in an hour. It is also really something adorable that you can give to a friend just to say that you're thinking about them. So I thank you for being here today. I thank you for all of your love and your support. Your comments mean the world to me as I'm chipping through them slowly but surely. I just wanted to say thank you. I read everything and take everything to heart. I just want to tell you today, in case you haven't been told, you're beautiful, you matter, and you are loved so much. A big thank you to my Patreons. I love you guys so much. And if you want to learn how to be a Patreon, it is linked down below. We would love to have you. I have an amazing group of ladies in there right now, and you will love all of them. So I thank you guys. Until next time. Love you. Bye. I almost forgot to show you guys the watercolor or gouache. So I think these are the best ones, and those are definitely have more water in them, whereas these tended to streak. I'm going to go ahead and grab it really quick and try to paint a light color on top of this, and that will tell us more if it's more gouache, because watercolor doesn't really work like that. I know I just used that for the gummy tape, but on this one I don't want a ton of water, so I'm going to do an eye. Okay, well, that you cannot see barely the color. So I'm not really sure what I would say these are comparable to, because the lighter color in gouache, you can see the lighter color through the paint. So I would definitely say that they're a mix. I really love this, how that came out. So I don't know. I think that you can do some fun stuff with these. They're definitely not true watercolors, so if you're looking for that and you stumble across these, it might not be the product for you. But if you want to have fun and you like to do mixed media stuff, and these can add color to a page, then you saw the little watermelon, the strawberry that we made, and it's cute. And so if that's good with you, then it's a thumbs up. I would say it's a mid-range. I don't know if I'd repurchase it, but I think that they'll be fun to play with. So, okay, this time I am gonna let you go, but I love you. Bye.